here's the next part of my journey, right? I thought, okay, I found this thing. It's called the deep end. I know what it looks like. I've gotten back there a couple times, but there's a problem. Because if getting there was easy, everyone would be doing it. But the deep end is hard. It's not only hard to identify sometimes, like what pool am I going to dive into, but then it's even harder to get there. And I want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about what goes on inside of us when we think or we dream about these things, right? When we think about signing up for something that's really important, which then inevitably is going to be a little bit audacious, a little bit scary. Because it turns out that before you ever get the privilege, earning the right to swim in the deep end, you've got to do these two really scary things. You've got to escape your comfort zone, and you've got to climb up that big high dive. And there's a really important thing that happens with our brain. In our heads, we can think about, I want to accomplish this goal just like me, NCAA Division I, sure, I'm going to go do that. And that's our prefrontal cortex. Right? The part of our brain that we think is so smart, our decision-making, our executive function, I'm pointing up here because it's at the front of our head. But we have this little bitty part of our brain called our amygdala. Some of you may have heard this, right? Our amygdala is really important for having us here, surviving as a species. When we see a lion or we're put in real threat and danger, our amygdala is the thing that gets us out of it. But there's a really big problem because all day long, each of our amygdalas in our brains are like surveying the landscape. All the data that's coming in through your body, both whether you think it or feel it, or you see it and it comes in like a sensory input. And all your amygdala is doing is saying, is there risk? Is there uncertainty? Am I going to die? Right? Do I need to run? And it turns out that there is no difference from that lion or saber-toothed tiger and the thought of, I want to go and accomplish that thing. Right? Your amygdala sees that risk, uncertainty, fear, possibly going to be failure, and boom. Within 20 milliseconds, it doesn't even consult our big thinking brain. It just says, nope, I'm going to flood the entire body with all these chemicals that make us feel fear, stress, anxiety. We've probably all felt this before, right? And before you know it, because despite this thing being so powerful, it takes a long time for everything to get back to the body. It actually takes sometimes 200 milliseconds. So 20 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds. You can start to play through the implications of, I think about this thing, I'm really excited about it, my amygdala triggers that, it's called a limbic hijack, right? Basically hijacks your whole body. And then only 10 times later, do you start acknowledging the feelings and sensations inside of your body. And there's this connection that is risky that we're at risk of making, which is, oh, I thought of that thing and now I feel terrible. I need to get as far away from that thing that's scaring me as possible. Our amygdala can kind of trick us back into comfort. That's actually what it's doing all the time. That's its job. It's like this outdated operating system. There's one last piece to this that I just want to share briefly, which is our hippocampus. So that's that blue wrapping line. Our hippocampus, it remembers and it reminds us. Its job is to remember what happened and what decision did we make, and then what was the result of that, and it stores it. And then anytime something similar like that happens, it reminds us. It's like a shortcut. Right? It just knows to trigger the same response. So our brain is being efficient. And so you start to see where our decision around what we do when we're about to jump after something and we experience these feelings is really, really important. In some ways, when you're at that precipice of climbing up the high dive or about to jump into the deep end, your choice in that moment, by the way, this happens every single day, and it happens related to the big journeys that we go on in like 5, 10 years. And there's no difference. What we choose to do really matters. The beautiful part about this roadmap for me in my life is that it is archetypal and it's so accessible. So for any of us who have young people in our lives, kids, nieces, nephews, friends, they feel the same things. But it's like we have to be able to have that conversation with one another. So like this is my daughter, Olea, when she was like 4 or 5 years old, jumping into the 5-degree pool at my parents' place. And we talk about these things. What does it mean? Are you gonna do it? Are you not gonna do it? Watch her body language. She knows that she can do things that challenge her and scare her because of moments like that. So we can start to have these conversations. And the point here with this second portion of the roadmap is that when we do the work to really align our foundation, what we care and what we believe in, those inner passions, those values, with where we think we'd like to go in the future, we get to redefine our relationship with fear. And it doesn't get any more uncomfortable, and it doesn't get any more scary, but we can start to teach ourselves that feeling of fear, it's a signal. You don't run from it. You actually go right through it, right off the edge of the high dive.